Yep, I think I'm going to take the L on this one and do something creative with it, or just dump it at a salvage auction. And I'll probably just spray paint on the engine itself, not an M.
Yes.
So I can do that with a clean conscience. If they just pop the hood and see, it'll say not an M, and then they know what they're getting. It's a parts car or whatever. So
Make it someone else's problem.
yeah, so this will be someone else's problem. That Bentayga will be someone else's amazing machine.
Welcome to Hoovie's Garage, the dumbest automotive channel in all of YouTube, and this is my 2017 Bentley Bentayga that I bought 1 year ago. And now it is time for me to sell this Bentayga, and I'm going to go over what I loved about this car, why I bought it, the things that have gone wrong, and my impressions of the future of the Bentley Bentayga market. Now honestly, I really wouldn't sell this car if it didn't have a personal life kind of stigma attached to it with me. I bought it for someone else to drive, and they've replaced it with a used Cayenne. Now the dealer had this Cayenne for over a year on their lot, and they had to reduce the price over $30,000 from what they originally were asking for it to finally sell it. I was told they lost over $20,000 on a 2019 Porsche Cayenne. That is a Porsche dealer losing that kind of money. The overall market for luxury SUVs has been an absolute bloodbath this past year. The previous car I had before this, a Range Rover supercharged long wheelbase, was traded in at the same dealer. They lost thousands of dollars on it because they couldn't sell it. Prices kept crashing because new Range Rovers are coming, and prices were so inflated because of the pandemic. Now, I thought I was safe with a Bentayga because it was already so depreciated. I bought this car for a little over $100,000, I think maybe 115 or so, and originally it was $280,000 new. So it had already had a lot of depreciation. This is for a car with a clean Carfax, clean history report, and only 30,000 miles, so not much for an SUV. And if you compare it to some other cars a year ago, say like a Lamborghini Urus, which is built on the same platform as this car, they were still trading for well over their original MSRP, $100,000 over for a mass-produced car. A Mercedes G63 over its MSRP, absolutely crazy for a new G63. And then, well, you had even a used Rolls-Royce Cullinan. They were selling for over or close to their MSRP at but $400,000. All of those cars have come crashing down. We're talking people taking six-figure losses on cars in the same league as this one. But I actually feel kind of smart. For the dumbest automotive channel in all of YouTube, I was able to own this car for a year, and well, I am going to sell it no reserve on Cars and Bids most likely, and I do feel like I'm not going to take a massive bloodbath based on the current listings and the current recent sales. It's still worth around six figures. So really, to own this car for a year and drive it, well, 11,000 miles, it's been a very lovely experience. And really, honestly, I would keep it if it weren't sort of having this weird sentimental thing going on. I absolutely love this car and still think it is a fantastic car to own. So let me give you a tour. But before we get into things, I'd like to thank Carly for sponsoring today's video. They just sent me the latest version of their handy little scan tool that plugs directly into your car's OBD port and communicates via Bluetooth with an app on your phone to give you near dealership quality levels of diagnostics and the ability to dive deep into the coding of the car. I'm going to show you how to do some of this on my 2001 BMW Z8. All right, so I plugged my Carly into the OBD port right between my legs here and turned the ignition on, but not the engine running, for this set of diagnostics, and my phone links almost instantly. So now we are going to do the health status of the vehicle, do a health check here with my Carly, which checks the stats of all the systems in the vehicle all at once, and 91%, getting close, 94%. It's good. I have no issues with the engine, computer-wise, electronics-wise, with this car. Since it's a manual transmission, I can't check the transmission computer because there's no transmission computer. It's a manual. This thing is kind of a dinosaur, but on newer cars, you can do a used car check to make sure the mileage matches the ECUs on the car, which is really important nowadays with like Volkswagen products. Really easy to roll back, as you saw with my Bentley a few years ago, and exotics, a very, very big problem. Now with Carly, you can also adjust the settings, something you usually need an advanced scan tool for, but with Carly, you can change things. Even on an old car like this, there's a few settings you can change, like what kind of noise it makes when you lock and unlock the doors, whether the lights flash or not, along with how long they stay on when you walk away. Now, with a newer car, you can do a whole lot more deep programming, tons and endless amounts of settings, especially with Volkswagen and BMW products. But Carly is set up to go deep into the diagnostics and settings in many, many other makes and models. Now, there's even more that the Carly app can do. I just barely scratched the surface here. You can see live data with your engine running and do a lot of advanced diagnostics that will save you tons of money versus paying a mechanic to do it or buying very, very pricey specialty scan tools like for a BMW or a Volkswagen. And it's a must-have if you have a hoopty or two or 20 or 30 like I do. So check out the Harley link below and buy this must-have product that just fits in your pocket and tells you so much. Link below, get the Carly. So let's start the tour with a bit of background. Of course, Bentley, a legendary company with a ton of legacy, over 100 years old. But around the year 2000, Bentley was acquired by Volkswagen. Before that, Rolls-Royce and Bentley, they were combined as one company building basically the same car, and they weren't very good. But Volkswagen acquired Bentley, BMW got Rolls-Royce, and they both did a great job with the future offerings. The 2004 Phantom, incredible, and the Bentley Continental GT, which came out in 2004, was the fastest four-seat car in the world. And even those early Bentley Continental GTs have held pretty well. A nice low mileage example is still $50,000, and that's why I felt pretty good buying the first Bentley SUV for what I paid. I imagine if I kept this car for another 5 or 10 years, it'd still be worth at least half of what I paid for it, because there's always going to be a market for a luxury SUV from Bentley if it's kept up and really nice. Also, we're in the end of the era when it comes to 12-cylinder engines. This one, a W12, 600 horsepower thanks to the twin-turbo W12 under the hood, which is similar. It's a very long-lived engine, starting with the Bentley Continental GT, where they took two VR6 Volkswagens, put them together, and made this W12 engine. So a wonderful machine, and you can see the spec, the overall look of this thing is gorgeous. The big Bentley badge there on the front, where people will confuse this with a Hyundai Genesis or the new Genesis SUV. That's one knock on these things, I suppose, is the Genesis looks so good that most people confuse them and the Bentayga for a fraction of the price. But beautiful grille, headlights, the whole treatment of this car, it just oozes quality. And yes, it's on the shared platform of the Lamborghini Urus, the Audi Q8, the Porsche Cayenne. But that's just the shell of this thing. The parashell is built in Eastern Europe somewhere, I believe, and then it is sent to England at Bentley's headquarters to be hand assembled. So this is really a high quality hand assembled car. 22-inch wheels. You can see this older setup has been facelifted since then. Still has the big taillights with the B's in them, but a very nice, practical, comfortable car. And styling wise, other than from the front, you know, it really doesn't stick out. If there is another knock, I'd say all SUVs, they sort of look the same. Bentley has a little bit of a cool sort of fin going on here with the rear quarter, but otherwise it is a pretty unremarkable looking car from the side profile. Just looks a lot like anything else. But where it doesn't look like anything else is in the interior, which is just absolutely unreal. And I love the spec of this car with the nautical blue, and the nautical theme continues on the inside. This is dark blue here, the lovely wood, the dash being blue, and they even did sort of a retro throwback in here with some vintage Bentley touches, like these pull knobs to open and close the vents. That goes all the way back to the 1930s or older with the Bentleys, but you still have the modern nav screen, a modern screen in there, but what I love is you still have old school analog gauges. I'm not a big fan of the screens. I sat and drove an Audi Q8 recently when we were looking for a replacement for this car and ended up with the Cayenne. The Q8, it's full of screens, it looks very modern and spaceshipy, and it rode a lot of the same of the Bentley, but it just didn't have this old school luxury feel, which is why I absolutely love this car. Then you start it up and that noise. Amazing W12 engine, which is absolutely silent running. The turbos really muffle the noise, which really I don't mind. This is a luxury car. It's not some sport performance car. It doesn't need to sound insane like an Enzo V12. It is very subtle and very, very fast. Honestly, it might outrun the 599. And then you sit down in these super, super comfortable seats that just feel like beyond first class. I mean, all these adjustments with the seats and the massagers. You hit a button down here and it has like 5 massage modes, I think. Oh yeah, my favorite, definitely the pulse massage, which just, man, I love this car. Yeah, I haven't really had too many issues with this Bentley, or really no issues. It's had 1 oil change. I never ended up replacing the snow tires, so I'm going to do that to prepare it for sale. And the only damage we've had to the car is right here. This wheel got scraped pretty good, which actually I was the one who did this scrape. I curbed the wheel myself. And I didn't have it repaired because it's already been repaired before. This is an alloy wheel that was polished, and it already got repaired once with paint. So you can see this is kind of a blend mark right here. It looks kind of bad. So I actually have a complete wheel replacement in the back. I got really lucky. If I was going to damage the wheel, it was going to be the one that wasn't repaired all that well. So I'll get a new wheel put on with the new tire before I put it up for sale. But you can see lots of cargo space here. You can also adjust the height of the car from the back to make things easy to load. So all the convenience features you ever want, even with the 2017, but way less than new, and you're already sort of at the bottom or the leveling out of the depreciation cycle. Like I talked about earlier, the massive depreciation with cars, this one has already experienced. And while a G-Wagon or a Urus may be more popular, personally, I think the Bentayga has a lot more going for it, at least in the things that I love with the driving experience. Oh yeah, the pulse massager is still on, and while the ride quality is similar in an Audi Q8, the overall feel and quality of the car, not even close. This one, it has to be better insulated, a little more solid in the doors, because the quietness, the smoothness, the overall feel of it, it just feels so much more substantial, so much more, well, expensive than a Q8, which it is, even though it is the same platform. It's amazing how different the cars feel, because the Cayenne, same platform, and the Urus feel so much more sporty. The Q8, a little more sedate, but this is every bit of an old school luxury car, which is what I love personally the most to experience. The grand touring Ferraris or the old school Bentleys, that kind of stuff is more what I'm into. And so a car that focuses more on that, more on the luxury and comfort, and less on being sporty. An SUV going faster on the track, who really cares? That's not what you buy an SUV for. You want to be comfortable and have plenty of room for your family and just cruise. And well, that's what this does so darn well. But it is faster than most things on the road because it does have a 600 horsepower V12 or W12 twin turbo. That was 60 in 3 point something seconds, maybe 4 seconds. Just nuts, absolutely nuts. So it's not surprising that this car is way better than an Audi Q8. I think it's closest comparison. But when it was new, it was 4 times the money, and now it's only twice the money as a comparable Q8 that's a few years old with the same mileage. But the other surprising thing to some people, but not to me, is how reliable this Bentayga has been. Like I said, just 1 oil change. That's it as far as trips to the shop. There's been no check engine light, no issues whatsoever. And well, that seems to be pretty common with modern Bentleys. Of course, the first few years of the Continental GT, it was pretty rough if you own one of those. A lot of issues with like the engine coming out because of vacuum lines all over the engine that were made of plastic that would break. And then the amazing W12 would run like absolute garbage. Engine out thing to replace. A lot of early issues. But, you know, 4 or 5 model years into the Continental GT, and they are really solid. There was Ed Bolian's Continental GT Super Sport with 170,000 miles in California traffic mostly. That was still running fantastically. He was able to take it 170 or 80 miles per hour around a super speedway without any fear, but he has no fear of death whatsoever. So the cars that are older than this, even though the Bentayga doesn't exist yet, are proving to be pretty reliable, long-lived, good cars. So it makes sense that this, with even more German influence, but that same potent, amazing powertrain that's just also redonkulously fast, would be a solid nice to own car as well. And servicing it, yeah, I don't have a Bentley dealer anywhere near me, but the Car Wizard, not scared at all working on it. And the Car Ninja, not scared at all working on it. Because at its core, it's a Volkswagen Audi product. You look underneath, take all the panels off, and most of it has Volkswagen Audi stamps. Now, there's a lot of specialty stuff that's very expensive. Say, when this thing starts needing suspension things, I imagine it'll be a little rough, but overall, a lot of interchangeable stuff to where normal maintenance, repair sensors, oxygen sensors, that kind of stuff. Pretty easy to keep one of these going if you play the game of, you know, matching up the part numbers and all that stuff. Jeez. Now, if I did have some gripes with this car, one of them would be the very annoying active cruise control system. That does a good job. It'll help steer the steering wheel and all that stuff. But if you do use the active cruise, it keeps such a ridiculously long distance from the car. And it also, when you're just driving down the highway, normally following a car at a safe distance, it still thinks you're following too close, and it'll give you a flashing red message wanting you to back off. And well, there's no way to turn that off. You kind of get used to it eventually, but it is a little bit of a crude early active cruise system that has been refined so much in recent years from other cars. That's the only big improvement, I would say, from something made before 2020 versus something in the last couple of years. That system has gotten a lot better if you live in traffic. But if you're just driving around town or doing a lot of this kind of normal 2-lane or 4-lane light traffic here in the Midwest like this, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me that much. So really, there's not much to complain about. It's been a wonderful machine. Values have been pretty stable, and I think they'll remain stable. They don't have any huge mechanical gotchas like the Land Rover timing chains or BMW's basically everything. And well, it's a lot more special feeling than anything else on the market or anything for the money. There's nothing even close to this. Basically, a Rolls-Royce Cullinan is the only thing that I would say outshines this car in the quality and luxury department, and that's still a $300,000 car. It's crazy to buy one of those and ride that depreciation wave all the way to the bottom. So this thing is amazing. I am going to sell it though. So I'm going to take it to the Car Ninjas. I've got new tires for it coming, and the Car Ninja actually has another one of my SUVs that we're going to check on, probably give up on. So let's go take a look.
Ninja! Oh my God! Is that Krager's on a Beetle Turbo, huh?
Yeah.
Wow! Nicest car in here, I think, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I brought the Bentayga here, which you've already serviced once. It's needing tires, so you've got those ordered and coming in. But as far as service on the Bentayga, did the oil change, you looked it over. I mean, really easy car to work on, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a Volkswagen.
You're not scared of, yeah. It's a little nicer than that. But one car that hasn't been easy to work on, sorry, you want to go outside in the heat here?
Yeah, let's go.
I've had to wear shorts lately because it's been so hot and people are talking about my chicken legs. But yeah, the Bentayga's here.
Yep.
Before we get to the terrible car, I want to go look at my old C36 because this is so damn cool. I gave this thing away at Christmas, you know. Yeah. It went to Daniel's son, who works at Wizard Shop, to Brian Petty, Epicenter Garage, and he's been working on it to put these wheels on, which look absolutely fantastic. But it's cool to see. Whoa, you got to take it apart a little bit, huh?
Yeah, we're gonna pull the dash out because there is no air coming from the center vent, so we have to check those.
Oh,
actuators.
yeah, it's always been like that.
Yeah.
Okay, but I love the wheels. Oh, he took the headlight wipers off. Brian, why'd you do that? But a very early Hubie's Garage car that's been bulletproof, 250,000 miles on it, and
it's right up. It's very smooth.
Meanwhile, an X6M, or no longer an M, with 70,000 miles is dead, right?
Well, in the car, I don't know what the engine has.
So to summarize, I bought this really cheap X6M, which should have had a 500 horsepower what do they call it? 53 V8?
S62.
S62. See, I don't even care because it didn't have that. It had the non-M version in it because these are notorious for blowing up. That's probably what's happened here. Or the engine was cannibalized for another car because this thing's kind of rough. And you've been playing with it a little bit. It had the massive oil leak. You fixed that.
Yes, that's fixed.
But running-wise, it's not going to get fixed, huh?
No. So you got good compression, good spark, good fuel. Everything is good. The only thing left is the tune.
So it still has the M tune, the
yes.
M computers and all that stuff.
Yes.
And by some miracle, it's running this engine, but not running it very well.
Exactly, because the timing is different.
So it takes someone who can hack into the coding, or
I'm hoping
like,
somebody can do it online. I don't know. I don't have that ability.
huh? But do I really want to mess with that? I mean, it's still a total piece of junk with
It
paint
is.
falling off, paint work, terrible condition inside and out. So it's locked, but who
Yeah.
cares? I mean, it probably makes a lot more sense to just punt the thing for parts or do something fun with it. So
I'll
and,
go for fun.
and I'm thinking you're pretty done with this car. Yeah.
To my capabilities, that's it. Like I said, unless we find someone who can program it, then that'll be it. But still, it hurts having an M that is not an M.
Right.
It
We already
doesn't feel right.
we already peeled the badge off. So, yep. I think I'm gonna take the L on this one and do something creative with it, or just dump it at a salvage auction. And I'll probably just spray paint on the engine itself, not an M.
Yes.
So I can do that with a clean conscience. If they just pop the hood and see, it'll say not an M, and then they know what they're getting. It's a parts car or whatever. So
Make it someone else's problem.
yeah, so this will be someone else's problem. That Bentayga will be someone else's amazing machine.
Yes.
So yeah, wonderful world here of hoopties. Thank you so much for watching.